Hello, guys. Welcome to iQuanta IPMAT Daily Practice Series. Shashank Gupta at your service. Quickly join in so that we can start practicing and working towards our mission. What's the mission? You know. Yeah. So, mm, just to make things clear, that whenever we do these kind of practices, fine, my main aim is to get into those fear factors where you can get trapped, right? So whatever I would do, it's not going to be just working on like heavier stuff. It is also about understanding. It is also about how well prepared you should be, whether the paper is easy or difficult or whatever kind, right? So one thing is for sure, we are going to work for that status, right? We are going to achieve that status. Let's see who all are here. Hey Gaurav, good evening. Hi Mahinima. Hi Om. Hello Parth. Fine. So let's see what do we have with us for the mixed bag session today. Yep. So it's a small passage, a paragraph basically, right? You go through that. There's a question out there. You just read the question and you try to find out the right answer. Okay. Oh, I am coming in between. Right. Fine. Never mind. I'll just remove myself from there. Yep. Coming back to it. The traditionalist school of historiography posits that objective reality is recoverable through the exhaustive collation of primary sources, asserting that the historian functions as a neutral conduit for the voice of the past. This empirical absolutism was challenged by the postmodern turn, which argued that the narrative structure inherent in historical writing inevitably imposes a subjective teleology upon chaotic events. However, a new historicist synthesis suggests that while total objectivity is a chimeric pursuit, the social energy of a period remains embedded within its cultural artifacts. Unlike the postmodernists who risk dissolving history into mere discourse, new historicists maintain that the interplay between subversion and containment within a text reveals the power dynamics of a specific era. Consequently, the historian's task is never to mirror reality nor to dismiss it as fiction, but to map the circulations of power that allow certain narratives to achieve dominance over others. This middle path acknowledges the linguistic constraints of the medium while insisting on material reality of historical pressure. Right. Okay, we have got Broccoli Boy. Okay. Hi, Broccoli Boy. Hi, AI Express. And Ali. Hi, Ali. Right. How's the read? How many of you have a problem with understanding the text, the one that is given across? Okay, two people have answered. What about the rest? Okay, Om had a problem. Broccoli, Gaurav, Parth, everyone says C. Fine. What about the rest of the students, guys? Be quick. Om tried to read it superficially, just catching the words which are there. Can you please make a specific video on how to approach a parajumble? Also, parajumble theta with five statement is too difficult. Okay, Parshv. Okay, Parshv, we'll work on that. Okay. Now that you have told me, I'll definitely work on this. Fine. Okay, we have got Soumya coming with C. A Express says B. अरे इतने सारे बच्चे C और एक बच्चा B. Why is this? चलो देखते हैं. Now let's see. The traditionalist school of historiography posits that objective reality is recoverable through the exhaustive collation of primary sources. ठीक है. All I could understand was we were talking about in questions of word usage. Okay, Siddhi, we'll work on that as well. There would be questions coming across. We are doing these questions in mixed bag, so they would be coming across to us and we can do them, right? Okay. So we are talking about the traditionalist school. What kind of school is that? Is it actually a school we are talking about? No, we are not. We are talking about ideas, right? Philosophies. So what kind of people? They are traditional, right? Posits that objective reality is recoverable through the exhaustive collation of primary sources. Okay? So they are basically talking about objective reality, right? And primary sources. If we use the primary sources, asserting that the historian function as a neutral conduit for the voice of the past. So they assert that historian functions. Historian is the person who is writing the history, right? Functions as a neutral conduit for the voice of the past. So whenever he's writing about past, he's never biased. He's whatever he's going to write, he's going to write it in a neutral tone, right? This empirical absolutism was challenged by the postmodern term, right? So when postmodernism came across, these this absolutism, okay, maybe you don't know what is empirical, but you definitely know what is absolutism. So this was actually challenged by absolutists. This absolutism was challenged by postmodern term, right? Which argued that the narrative structure inherent in historical writing inevitably impose a subjective teleology upon a chaotic events. Okay, so they say that some kind of historical writing they imposes a subjective teleology, okay, upon chaotic events, right? So there is some kind of subjectivity out there. People are putting in their perceptions. Find the historians. However, a new historicist synthesis suggests. So now what happens when a new historicist synthesis suggests that while total objectivity is chimeric pursuit, the social energy of a period remains embedded within its cultural artifacts. So social energy of a period remains embedded within its cultural artifacts, right? This line is important. Unlike the postmodernists who risk dissolving history into mere discourse. So, what is happening? Postmodernist people, what do? They dissolve history into mere discourse. Discourse, just discussions, nothing else. Okay. New historicists maintain that the interplay between subversion and containment within a text reveals the proper dynamics of a specific era. So there has to be an interplay, important part, interplay, right? Consequently, the historian's task is neither to mirror reality. So what is historian's task? It is not to mirror reality, not to mirror reality, okay? Nor to dismiss it as fiction. So he's not going to throw it away as a fiction, and he's not going to what write down the same thing that happened as in a mirror reality, right? But to map the circulation of power that allows certain narratives to achieve dominance over others. So that what can happen, the narratives, some narratives would be would be dominant over others, right? This middle path, okay guys, the moment of truth. What is it? The middle path. Fine. Keeping that in mind, let's come back. This middle path acknowledges the linguistic constraints of the medium while insisting on the material reality of historical pressure. ठीक है? अब इसको सोचकर let's read out which of the following best summarizes the central thesis of the passage. Now, when you get this kind of a question, the biggest problem that poses in front of is either way I don't understand what is written, what is being written out here, because even if it is like a history student goes across with this, plenty of heavy words, plenty of verbosic nature of writing, right? Which makes us feel that it's quite not easy to understand. Fine. Second thing, if you look at the options given across as an answer, even they are quite huge for us, right? But then again, the important part is to just catch hold of what is what, right? Let's read the first one. While the traditionalist pursuit of objective historical truth is fundamentally flawed, okay, should I read any further? Tell me. Due to the subjectivity of narrative, the postmodern rejection of historical reality can be overcome by focusing on the neutral correlation of cultural artifacts. Should I keep it or remove it? Definitely, A part cannot be my answer, right? See, first thing first, they never called it that it was flawed. It was like, yes, it was challenged by the postmodern turn, right? Which argued that the narrative structure inherent in the historical writing inevitably imposes a subjective teleology upon chaotic events, right? Okay, but it never said that fundamentally flawed. So that is like quite huge, right? Like extreme point. Let's go with B. Moving beyond the dichotomy of empirical absolutism the and postmodern skepticism, the historian's role is to analyze. See, okay, first thing, this part, look at it. Moving beyond the dichotomy, what is there? Die. Okay, die means two. There would be two of them we would be talking about. Dichotomy of empirical absolutism. So we were talking about absolutism and postmodern skepticism. On one hand, we had what? The absolutism, right? And on the other hand, we had the skepticism. Yes? Okay, so this was there. We cannot remove this. Okay, let's read further. What does it say? The historian's role is to analyze how power structures are articulated through the tension between cultural subversion and societal control. Should I remove this or should I keep it? Look at this part. Task is neither to mirror reality nor to dismiss it as a fiction, but to map the circulation of power that allow certain narrative to achieve dominance over others. This middle path acknowledges the linguistic constraints of the medium while insisting on the material reality of historical pressure. Should I keep it or remove it? Okay, Mahima, why would you remove this? Why would you remove B? Okay, Gaurav, give me reason. No, look at it. It cannot be removed, guys. If you look at it carefully, it is covering all the points, right? See, moving beyond the dichotomy of empirical absolutism and modern skepticism. So he says, like, let's forget about that. Okay, we have to move ahead, right? This is what they are talking about. New historicists maintain that the interplay between subversion and containment, see, interplay between subversion and containment within a text reveals the power dynamics of a specific era. So clearly, it is mentioned that the historian's role is to analyze how power structures are articulated through the tension between cultural subversion and societal control. Okay, so he's taking the middle path, which means B cannot be removed, B has to be kept. Okay, let's go to C. The evolution of historiography demonstrates that since total objectivity is impossible, okay, what does it say? He says total objectivity is impossible. History should be treated as a linguistic construct where the primary goal is to identify which narrative has been suppressed by dominant power dynamics. Okay. So what does it says? Does it work as per this? Because it says total objectivity is impossible. While it was saying that the middle path acknowledges the linguistic constraints of the medium while insisting on material reality of historical pressure, right? But it was taking the common path, right? It was not saying that yes, we have to take some, like, you have to talk in terms of taking, being partial, right? Being subjective. Rather, it actually was talking about that how we can become what we can become objective. So total objectivity is impossible is actually going against what the author was trying to say. So the C part cannot be my answer. D part says new historicism provides a necessary synthesis by asserting that historical truth is found in the social energy of text, effectively reviving the where is it? Ha. Effectively reviving the traditionalist belief in a mirror like, here it says, belief in a mirror like recovery of the past, which was definitely not written. It was said it was not to, uh, task is neither to mirror reality, clearly written out here. Consequently, the historian's task is neither to mirror reality nor to dismiss it as fiction, right? So, therefore, D part definitely cannot be my answer. The only option that is left for me is B, right? So, one child was there who got the answer correct, and it was AI Express. Good. What about the rest? Guys, just look into it. Parth, Gaurav, and Broccoli Boy. Can you just look into it and tell me? Soumya as well. If you have understood, just let me know. Very good. ठीक है. Let's go to the next question. ठीक है. So what I'm trying to say out here is, even if you don't have those points out here, right? Even if you don't understand the whole thing, try to catch hold of the structure. Try to catch hold of what is happening out there. And these last, the last lines of paragraph, the last paragraph of a passage, they are quite important. Fine. So you need to read through it and try to understand what is happening out there. Okay. Let's go to the next question. Om, did you understand how to go about in the reading part? Is this doable? Understanding? You're getting the paragraph? Just one guy giving me an answer. What about the rest, guys? ओके, गौरव ने एक नया मेथड निकाल लिया है, द मिडल मेथड. चलो जी, शुरू करते हैं. ठीक है. द स्ट्रक्चरल टेंशन इन फिजिकल फेडरलिज्म. फेडरलिज्म क्या होता है? व्हाट इज फेडरलिज्म? सो इट इज टॉकिंग अबाउट द फेडरल सिस्टम, आई बिलीव, राइट? हाँ जी. व्हेन द सेंट्रल अथॉरिटी यूटिलाइजेस, सेंट्रल अथॉरिटी मतलब सेंटर, utilizes conditional grants and aid to standardize social welfare, potentially infringing upon the administrative autonomy of subnational states. So, अगर आप ध्यान से देखेंगे, so there are certain points and which is telling me what is happening in this big sentence, है ना? So just this bigger sentence, all you have to understand is what is it talking about? It is talking about how center, okay, potentially infringing upon the administrative autonomy of subnational states. Subnational states matlab, so we are talking about the center and we are talking about the states, right? And the states, right? Okay, so what is happening? Who is doing what? Center is giving some what? Conditional grants and aid. Okay, so some kind of money or something, they are giving it to them, but they are also limiting their autonomy, right? Fine. So this is again that kind of a thing where center, victim, center is the suppressor and state is the victim, something like that, right? Proponents of central oversight argue that a unitary floor for welfare prevents a race to the bottom. Okay, so proponents of central oversight, which means like they are towards what? They are towards the center, right? That a unitary floor. So they think that there has to be a unitary floor for welfare prevents a race to the bottom. Fine. So then there is no race and no nothing going on. Wherein states diminish social safety nets to attract mobile capital through lower taxation. So, and on the other hand, what do the states do? They diminish the social safety nets. So it's a problem. It's a safety issue. Okay, to attract mobile capital so that they can get liquid money or something, uh, capital through lower taxation. By um, lowering the taxation, they are trying to make money. Fine. Conversely, public choice theorists uh, contend that central interference creates fiscal illusion. So there are again conversely, which means like on the opposite side, public are doing what? They are saying that central inference is creating fiscal illusion. Illusion is a negative word, which means like central interference is taken as negative, obscuring the true cost of services and stifling the lab of federalism. Okay, where states innovate through policy competition. Right? Uh, while the matching principle suggests that the level of government responsible for the benefits externalities should fund it. Fine. So what is it like? The level of government responsible for a benefits externalities should fund it. The political reality often involves unfunded mandates. So many a time there is like unfunded necessities, something which is necessary but it is unfunded and other stuff. Okay? These mandates compel states to implement federal priorities without requisite transfers. Okay, lead to vertical fiscal imbalance, and therefore there is an imbalance out there, and force states to prioritize central directives over localized voter preference. Okay, So, and in turn, they force, they force the states to prioritize central directives. Whatever the center is saying, that has to be done out there. Okay, over localized voter preference. So, whoever the local voter is, they are pressurized by state, who in turn are pressurized by the center to follow their directives. Right. Thus, the debate is not merely administrative. So, it is not administrative, but ontological. Right. Questioning, so it is not about administration, whether state has administration or not, but it is more towards ontological. So whatever is ontological, it is nothing to do with administration, right? Questioning whether a state's legitimacy derives from its responsiveness to local idiosyncrasies, or its role as a regional administrator of a national social contract. What is it? Fine. Keeping this in mind, let's move ahead and let's see what the answer can be. Let's read the first one. The conflict centers on whether states should prioritize the matching principle to avoid vertical fiscal imbalance, or accept conditional grants to prevent capital flight and a race to the bottom. Okay, so can A be an answer? After we have read, just tell me, should I keep it or remove it? So remember, the question is, which of the following statements best encapsulates the ontological conflict described in the passage regarding central interference in state welfare? So if it is talking about ontological, can I keep this A part as my answer? No, I cannot. Why? Because it says something to do with technique, the technicalities, right? It is nothing to do with ontological. See what was written across? But ontological, right? But ontology or ontological, questioning whether a state's legitimacy derives from its responsiveness. So now the question is about whether there should be a state administration at all or not, right? Because they are saying, like, is there any legitimacy of the state's power, right? So that's why A part, which is more towards techn- technicalities, right, cannot be my answer. B, the tension lies in whether a subnational government's primary purpose is to reflect the specific preference of its local electorate, or to function as a standardized vehicle for national welfare obligations. Can I keep this or not? A bit of practice of strong reading is a must for us, as you can very well see, right? Is a must for us, right? वहाँ पे आएगा नहीं आएगा कैसा होगा ये नहीं पता, but if you read a bit strong, right, these strong passages, somewhat paraphrase things, something which is wordy, verbosic, it is actually going to help you, क्योंकि आदत भी नहीं है ना पढ़ने की. अब देखो इसे, अगर आप इसे ध्यान से देखो बी को, इज इट nothing but a paraphrasing of whatever is written out here? See, the tension lies in whether a subnational government's primary purpose is to reflect the specific preference of its local electorate, which would be basically talking about what? Whether a state's legitimacy derives from its responsiveness to local idiosyncrasies, right? So this part is basically talking about whether it is legitimate or not, right? Yes, yes, very good, Shonin. Okay. And then on the other hand, what is it? Or to function as a standardized vehicle for national welfare of obligation, which means if it becomes a standardized vehicle, what does it mean? Does it have its own steering wheel? No, it does not, right? It simply becomes a regional administration of a national social contract, right? Which has been done by the center, and they are nothing but they are just the vehicle or the people who are pushing the deliveries or something. Fine. So yes, B part can be kept. C. The debate focuses on whether unfunded mandates are more detrimental to state autonomy than the fiscal illusion generated when central authorities obscure the cost of social safety nets. Tell me, should I keep it? So look at it. It says whether unfunded mandates are more detrimental to state autonomy than the fiscal illusion. इनका तो हम आपस में क्या ही compare करेंगे? Why would we compare these two, unfunded mandates and fiscal illusion? They both are basically what? They are the social evils, or I would say like they are the administrative evils, right? So they both are negative things. Why would I? Is there a comparison in the paragraph about unfunded mandates and fiscal illusion? No, it is not. So why would I even keep it? So C part can safely be removed. D part says the fundamental disagreement is over whether policy innovation within the lab of federalism can coexist with the central authority's requirement to maintain a unitary floor for mobile capital. Should I keep it? D part? What do I do? First thing first. Like, it's quite easy now. You can very well see that the story was revolving around what it was talking about, the ontological conflict, right? The conflict of ontology, right? Its power, its essence, its nature, its existence, है ना, उस पर बात हो रही थी. यहाँ पर डी पार्ट क्या कह रहा है? डी पार्ट कह रहा है कि द फंडामेंटल डिसएग्रीमेंट इज ओवर वेदर पॉलिसी इनोवेशन within the lab of federalism can coexist, okay, with the central authorities requirement to maintain a unitary floor for mobile. So on one hand it is saying that it needs that unitary floor, लेकिन वहाँ पे तो साफ साफ ये कहा गया था अगर unitary floor हुआ तो फिर तो गड़बड़ हो जाएगी, then it would be the central people who would be handling everything, right? So D part cannot be my answer. The right answer has to be B. Right, guys? So हाँ जी, so it was not a good day. ठीक है, कोई बात नहीं. But yes, पैराग्राफ ऐसा भी आ सकता था, पैराग्राफ कुछ हट के भी हो सकता है ना? So we let's not get into कि what happened and what not happened. Rather, let's just shift to the next one. ठीक है ना? हाँ जी, फिर से करो. So this is a para jumble question. 4 sentences are there. आंसर निकालो. अभी किसी ने बोला था कि 5 sentences में प्रॉब्लम हो रही है, ठीक है? So I would be keen to see how you perform in 4 first, then we'll move forward, right? Any answers? Or is it different, difficult? Persh, can we have an answer? ओके, सबसे पहला आंसर दिया है ओम ने. वेरी गुड ओम. फिर पार्थ, फिर शौनन. चलो ठीक है, देखते हैं. This synaptic prioritization, however, is not flawless mechanism, as it often bypasses the prefrontal cortex's analytical rigor in favor of immediate gratification. So this synaptic. So this cannot be my first sentence. Okay, and moreover, it is also telling me that it is talking about something which is, it finds flaw in a thing. Okay, so it says that the thing is not flawless, which means it has flaw. Okay, second part चलते हैं. What does it say? The human brain's reward system relies on the dopamine driven reinforcement of specific neural pathways to facilitate rapid decision making. Okay, ठीक है, this can be my first sentence because this is talking about the human brain and its reward system and everything relies on. And what does it rely on? So it relies on something, um, on the dopamine driven reinforcement of specific neural pathways to facilitate rapid decision making. Okay जी, ठीक है, ले लिया. Consequently, the hyperbolic discounting of future rewards occurs, where the brain treats distant benefits as significantly less valuable than those available in the present. Okay, fine. So, third one is basically talking about something which is negative, right? And it is a consequence of something. Okay, fine. अभी तक अगर देखा जाए तो one is talking negative. It was talking about the flaw in this. Third is basically giving the consequence as an outcome of that, right? ठीक है, तो थर्ड और वन को हम एक अभी के लिए साथ रखते हैं. सेकेंड वाला, इट इज़ जस्ट टॉकिंग अबाउट हाउ इट इज़ इम्पॉर्टेंट एंड इट हेल्प्स इन रैपिड डिसीजन मेकिंग. सो सेकेंड वाला हम पहले रख सकते हैं. ठीक है, ओके. लेट्स सी. टू मेरा अगर फर्स्ट हुआ, फोर्थ देखते हैं. बाय एलिवेटिंग द सेलियंस ऑफ इमीडिएट स्टिमुलाई. Immediate stimuli is basically talking about this thing, dopamine driven reinforcement of specific neural pathways to facilitate rapid decision making. Immediate stimuli, the amygdala effectively hijacks the cognitive process to ensure survival oriented responses. So it is helping in survival, right? So which means this is a positive thing. And this is telling me about second one, how the second one is telling me what is happening, and the fourth part is telling me how it is happening, right? So definitely 2 4. And then what do we have? 1, because 3 will only come after 1, because 3 cannot come after 4, because it cannot give me a negative thought process right away after 4. So that's why first, that is 2 4 1 3. And guys, your answer was correct. Chalo, Mubarak bhaiya, Mubarak. Let's move on to the next one. फिर से करो जल्दी जल्दी. Yeah. Okay, so we got Broccoli Boy has given the first answer. What about the rest? 3421 3412. Mm-hmm. 3412. चलो करके देखते हैं. First one says, however, the algorithms themselves often inherit the latent prejudices of their characters. Okay, ठीक है. So, however, IY, it has to be a contradiction of something. Let's see whether it is a positive contradiction or a negative contradiction. The algorithms themselves often inherit the latent prejudice. तो इसका मतलब तो ये नेगेटिव है जा रहा है of their creators encoded within the very historical data used for their training. So this is a negative thought process that something is happening, they are trying to do something good, but still there is a problem out there. So ठीक है जी, वन हमारा एक negative thought process है. Second पढ़ते हैं. If the logic of sentence remains hidden, the fundamental right to a transparent trial is effectively neutralized by the pursuit of mathematical efficiency. So what is happening out here? If the logic of sentencing remains hidden, okay, the fundamental right to a transparent trial is effectively neutralized, है ना. तो फिर ये तो हो गया, ये भी नेगेटिव थॉट प्रोसेस है. ठीक है. The integration of predictive analytics into the judicial process aims to mitigate. Okay, so what has happened? They have integrated analytics, right? Predictive analytics into the judicial process aims to mitigate human bias by relying on purportedly ऑब्जेक्टिव डेटा सेट्स. ठीक है ना, फैक्ट्स बेस्ड डेटा सेट्स हैं, उसके ऊपर हम क्या करेंगे, ह्यूमन बायस को ख़त्म करने की कोशिश करेंगे, राइट. सो दिस इज़ बेसिकली समथिंग एम कर रहा है. ठीक है, कुछ नया चीज़ ला रहा है. इट इज़ एमिंग ऑन डूइंग समथिंग. सो दिस इज़ अ पॉजिटिव थॉट प्रोसेस. ठीक है. फोर चलते हैं. एंड मोर ओवर, अगर हम अभी तक बात करें तो येस, थर्ड इज़ द समथिंग दैट सीम्स टू बी द फर्स्ट सेंटेंस. फोर देखते हैं. दिस ब्लैक बॉक्स डेफिनेटली नॉट द फर्स्ट सेंटेंस. तो थ्री आपका स्टार्टिंग स्टेटमेंट है, दैट इज़ फॉर श्योर. ठीक है. दिस हैज दिस ब्लैक बॉक्स opacity. Okay, opacity is something which is not transparent, right? Creates a paradox where the legal system demands accountability while the underlying code remains proprietary and inscrutable. ठीक है ना. So which means this part is also talking about something which is negative. Why? Because transparency तो है ही नहीं. ये कैसा हो गया, opaque हो गया. Opaque is where something is hidden, something is secretive or something like that, right? So definitely थ्री के बाद हम फोर तो नहीं ले सकते, राइट. थ्री के बाद अगर आप देखें तीन जगह पे नेगेटिव है, राइट. और अगर तीन जगह पे नेगेटिव है और मेरे को अगर इनमें से किसी एक को चूज करना है जिसको थ्री के बाद लगाना है, which is a positive sentence, which is the only sentence that can come after three, tell me. सो थ्री के बाद वन ही आ सकता है, दैट इज़ फॉर श्योर. ठीक है. क्यों? थ्री में पॉजिटिव था, वन में हमने हाउएवर लगाया, और हाउएवर लगाकर क्या हो गया, इट स्टार्टेड टॉकिंग इन दी opposite direction, which means negative. So 3 was positive, 1 was negative. Easy. अब हमारे पास बचता है 2 and 4. क्या लें? So however, the algorithm themselves inherit the latent prejudice of their creators encoded within the very historical data used for their training. ठीक है ना. And then it talks about what? It talks about that latent thing is actually the black box. Opacity creates a paradox where the legal system demands accountability while the underlying code remains proprietary and inscrutable. जब हम उसको चेक ही नहीं कर पा रहे हैं. सो फोर इज एक्चुअली कमिंग विद वन. ठीक है ना, क्योंकि वो उसको क्या कर रहा है, जो हमारा वन है हाउएवर वाला सेंटेंस, इट इज़ एक्सपैंडिंग द थॉट प्रोसेस. इट इज़ टेलिंग अस व्हाट इज़ रियली व्हाट दिस थिंग इज़ एक्चुअली डूइंग. ठीक है ना. तो थ्री वन के बाद फोर, And then finally, if the logic of sentencing remains hidden, the fundamental right to transparent trial is effectively neutralized. तो 1 और 4 होने की वजह से क्या हो रहा है? The outcome is that transparent trial is getting neutralized, है ना? And therefore 2 is the last thing. 3142 is the right answer. Uh, one however will contradict the plus thought. Yes. So the right answer is 3142. ठीक है guys? सबको दिख रहा है? कोई टेंशन, कोई प्रॉब्लम? जल्दी बताओ. प्रॉब्लम तो है. क्यों? आज हमें दिखा कि हमारे को अपना लेवल ऊपर भी करना है, बैलेंस भी रखना है और थोड़ा सा नीचे वाला भी पढ़ना है. ठीक है. व्हेन यू रीड द नीचे वाला पार्ट ना, इट एड्स टू दैट कॉन्फिडेंस. समझ में आ गई? एंड व्हेन यू रीड द ऊपर वाला पार्ट, व्हाट हैपेंस? You become what? भले you are getting singed out here, right? You are getting burned out here, but at least what is happening? You are honing. Honing का मतलब क्या होगा? Your skills are getting better. समझ में आ गई? And then when you do mocks or previous year question where it is balanced, तो आप कभी भी ना ही ऐसा भी नहीं होगा कि आप कॉन्फिडेंट हो जाओगे और आप ऐसा भी नहीं होगा कि आप क्या हो जाओगे, पूरी तरह से नेगेटिव हो जाओगे. यू विल ऑलवेज रिमेन बैलेंस्ड. बात समझ में आ गई? How 4 follows 1? Yes, definitely. See, 4 says this black box opacity, right? And this one said the algorithm themselves often inherit the latent prejudice of their creators. ठीक है ना? Latent prejudice. Latent का मतलब क्या होता है? Something which is hidden, है ना? Something that is not shown to everyone. तो वो उसका दूसरा नाम उन्होंने क्या दे दिया? This black box. तो ये this black box किसको कह रहा है? It is calling that latent थिंग, है ना? लेटेंट प्रेजुडिस. ठीक है. मोर ओवर इट इज द एनकोडेड. ये भी देख लो, एनकोडेड लिखा हुआ है विद इन द वेरी हिस्टोरिकल डेटा यूज फॉर देयर ट्रेनिंग. तो ये ब्लैक बॉक्स ओपेसिटी हो गया. समझ में आ गया शोनन? ओके, लेट्स मूव ऑन. हाँ जी. चलो, ये बहुत ज़्यादा बड़ा पैसेज हो गया अभी के लिए. डू वन थिंग, ट्राई टू डू दिस वन. हाँ जी, ये तो जल्दी हो जाएगा मेरे हिसाब से. Be quick about it. सेंटेंस समझ में आया, मतलब एज इन पैराग्राफ समझ में आया, व्हाट इज इट सेइंग? Okay, Soumya says B, AI Express says D, Omkar says B. अलग अलग आंसर्स क्यों आ रहे हैं भाई आज? चलो देखते हैं, ध्यान से देखना क्या कह रहा है वो। द म्यूनिसपैलिटीज फेलियर, तो यहाँ पे फेलियर की बात हो रही है, टू अपग्रेड इट्स एजिंग ड्रेनेज इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर हैज डैश द सिटीज वल्नरेबिलिटी टू 100 ईयर फ्लड इवेंट्स। इसका मतलब यहाँ पे मेरे को क्या चाहिए, थोड़ा सा नेगेटिव चाहिए वर्ड, राइट? ठीक है, नेगेटिव या फिर नेगेटिव कुछ और, क्योंकि वल्नरेबिलिटी की तो बात ऑलरेडी आ गई है ना, सो इट इज़ ऑलरेडी टॉकिंग अबाउट वल्नरेबिलिटी, राइट? ओके, आगे देखते हैं क्या हुआ। फिर वो क्या कहता है, इफेक्टिवली, राइट, डैश द मार्जिनल गेन्स, मार्जिनल, मार्जिनल मतलब बहुत ही कम, गेन्स, गेन्स का मतलब तो पॉजिटिव होता है, अचीव्ड थ्रू रिसेंट इन्वेस्टमेंट इन परमिएबल पेवमेंट एंड ग्रीन रूफिंग, ठीक है ना। तो म्यूनिसिपैलिटी की फेलियर हुई, तो क्या नहीं किया उन्होंने, ड्रेनेज इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर को वो बेटर नहीं कर पाए, इसने सिटी के वल्नरेबिलिटी को 100 ईयर फ्लड इवेंट्स तक क्या कर दिया, डैश कर दिया, ठीक है ना। ऑन द अदर हैंड, इफेक्टिवली डैश द मार्जिनल गेन्स, और आज तक के जितने भी मार्जिनल गेन्स को उसको क्या किया होगा, तो फिर उसको तो नेगेटिव किया होगा, है ना भाई। तो यहाँ पे देखते हैं कौन सा वाला, फैक्टर्ड इनटू, कैन आई हैव फैक्टर्ड इनटू, फैक्टर्ड इनटू, ओके, अगर मेरे को फैक्टर्ड इनटू करें, इट हैज़ फैक्टर्ड इनटू द, फैक्टर्ड का मतलब तो डिवीजन विवीजन कर देते हैं ना, अलग अलग फैक्टर्स में डिवाइड कर दिया, उसने डिवाइड किया ऐसा तो नहीं हुआ होगा, रादर इट एक्चुअली एडेड टू इट, राइट, इट ग्रू, इट मल्टीप्लाइड, तो यहाँ पे मल्टीप्लाई वाली बात हो रही है, फैक्टर्ड इनटू तो नहीं हो सकता। मोर ओवर द सेकेंड पार्ट, डूइंग अवे विद, इज़ अ वेरी colloquial यूजेज, ठीक है, वी डोंट नो व्हाट इट मीन्स, इनफॉर्मल है बहुत ज़्यादा, गोज अवे, ठीक है। नेक्स्ट पार्ट, प्लेड अपॉन द सिटीज वल्नरेबिलिटी, प्लेड अपॉन, ओके, देन ऑफसेटिंग अगेंस्ट, ऑफसेटिंग जब भी मैं कहूँगा, इट हैज़ अ वेरी डिफरेंट मीनिंग, इट हैज़ एक्चुअली अ पॉजिटिव मीनिंग, इट मीन्स टू बैलेंस नेगेटिव विद पॉजिटिव, है ना। It talks about balancing negative with positive, which means offsetting against is a positive thought process. लेकिन मुझे यहाँ पे क्या चाहिए, मुझे तो यहाँ पे नेगेटिव चाहिए, है ना। तो डेफिनेटली ऑफसेटिंग अगेंस्ट इज नॉट वर्किंग फॉर मी, ठीक है। Redounded to, redounded is actually a positive thing, okay, it's a positive thought process. Redounded means to contribute, contribute, ठीक है, to one's honor and credibility, we can say, right, credibility, okay, being credible, right. So when this happens, redounded to, is it adding to someone's credibility? Definitely not. Redounded is a positive thought process, I need a negative thought process out there, goes away, so they all are going off. But D part, let's see what it says. Compounded, compounded means what, compounded means to increase, right, increase multiple fold, right. तो कंपाउंडेड द सिटीज वल्नरेबिलिटी टू 100 ईयर ओल्ड फैन, इसका मतलब बहुत ज़्यादा ही कंपाउंड, बहुत ही ज़्यादा बढ़ा दिया, वो भी नेगेटिव में, ठीक है ना। सो कंपाउंड आई कैन डेफिनेटली कीप। सेटिंग एट नॉट, नॉट का मतलब क्या होता है, नॉट, इट मीन्स ज़ीरो, है ना, सेटिंग एट ज़ीरो, किसको ज़ीरो कर दिया फिर से, द मार्जिनल गेन्स अचीव्ड, थोड़ा बहुत जो उन्होंने गेन किया भी था वो सारा का सारा क्या हो गया, वापस ज़ीरो हो गया. सो देयरफॉर डी मेक्स परफेक्ट सेंस. सबको बात समझ में आ गया? ओके, राइट. सो ठीक है. इट वाज अ मिक्स रिस्पॉन्स टुडे. कोई बात नहीं, सब ठीक है. या समथिंग यूजलेस. यस, वेरी गुड. या एक्सप्रेस. तो अब भैया ये याद रखना कि कल हमारी क्लास है, कल हम फिर से थोड़ा बहुत ऐसे ही प्रैक्टिस करेंगे. बट नाउ व्हाट आई वांट इज़, क्योंकि अब हम अपने पेपर के पास आ रहे हैं, तो हम थोड़ा सा बैलेंस आउट करना शुरू करेंगे. ठीक है. कभी मुश्किल होगा, कभी दोनों दिन मुश्किल हो जाएगा, कभी थोड़ा सा आसान होगा, कभी थोड़ा सा क्या बहुत सारा आसान होगा. ठीक है. बिकॉज आई वॉन्ट यू टू पीपल टू कीप यू नो हैव एन एक्सपीरियंस ऑफ ऑल द वर्ल्ड्स, राइट. हम मल्टीवर्स करेंगे. ठीक है ना. अपना दिमाग पूरा हर तरह का कुछ भी आ जाए हम उसके लिए तैयार हैं, वैसे वाला सोच रखते हैं. कोई टेंशन? हैज एवरीवन अंडरस्टूड? इफ यू लाइक द सेशन, please do show some love to iQuanta and to my video. ठीक है. एंड that's that for the day. कल मिलते हैं 5 बजे. ठीक है. with some more questions like this, जिससे कि हमारे दिमाग के जो बत्ती है वो और जले, थोड़ा सा और हमारे को समझ में आए, एंड वी गेट क्लोजर टू आवर ड्रीम. ठीक है. ओके देन, टेक केयर.